Check out this amazing statistic from Week 1 for the Minnesota Vikings, specifically Sam Darnold. Only Josh Allen, C.J. Stroud, Baker Mayfield, and Derek Carr have better quarterback ratings than Sam Darnold. Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, those guys are yet to play on Monday Night Football, so we'll see where that ends up. But this means that Sam Darnold has outperformed Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, just go down the list of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Kirk Cousins. Sam Darnold outplayed all of those boys in Week 1. And what a spectacular first week performance for Sam Darnold. A performance that he can only hope to mimic for every game for the rest of the regular season. Because if he does that, there will be a team calling for Sam Darnold's services this offseason. He signed a 1-year, $10 million prove-it deal with the Minnesota Vikings. And you look around the league, and there's always a team in need of a quarterback. I mean, look at the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson? I mean, what did they sign him to? One of the largest contracts in NFL history, and he is hot garbage? Look at the Las Vegas Raiders starting Gardner Minshew. You look at the New England Patriots, they got Drake May in waiting, but you think about starting Jacoby Brissett. Lots and lots of NFL teams could use a Sam Darnold next year if he continues to perform at this level for the Minnesota Vikings. Lots of exciting things to talk about following his Week 1 performance. But first, I'm not one to talk about how right I was, talk about how sensational I was, but there was something that Sam Darnold talked about in the post-game press conference. He said this. He said, "My goal is to be an efficient quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings." He says specifically, "I feel like if I can stay efficient, we will be all right." Well, last week, I did a podcast on the Minnesota Vikings recipe for success this season. And I just want to play a snippet of that piece right now. But I think that's the recipe for the Minnesota Vikings season this year in order for them to be successful. Sam Darnold isn't going to be thrown for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That's just not the type of quarterback that Kevin O'Connell is going to ask him to be. You hope that he goes out there and throws for like 170, maybe eclipses 200, throws for 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and is like 17 for 22. I don't think the goal is for Sam Darnold to be throwing the ball 40 times a game. That is not the recipe for the Minnesota Vikings this season. Aaron Jones needs to play out of his mind. And stay healthy. The Minnesota Vikings defense needs to take a major step forward, and Sam Darnold needs to do something that he's never ever done in his NFL career, and that's be an efficient and effective quarterback. Efficiency and effectiveness. Those are my main 2 words for life. Those are the 2 words that Sam Darnold needs to live and die by this season. He's not going to be asked to make throws that Sam Darnold isn't capable of making. Kevin O'Connell is going to put Sam Darnold in great situations to be a phenomenal quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. But it is up to Sam Darnold to make the right throw. Not a throw that's too risky, not a dump down throw either, but he needs to select his spots. And that's exactly what he did versus the New York Football Giants. I'm going to play 2 throws. And you're going to remember these throws because these throws were badass throws by Sam Darnold. Let's take a look at the first throw. Sam Darnold was given a terrible situation. He had to travel 99 yards to score a touchdown. And the Minnesota Vikings hadn't done this since 2008. 2008. It was like Bernard Berrien. Go back to those years. Was it like a Gus Frerotte to Bernard Berrien throw? Isn't that what it was? No, it wasn't Gus Frerotte. Was it Gus Frerotte? I don't remember. Who cares? Mark it down in the comments. Who threw that ball to Bernard Berrien? Was it T-Jack? Tavares Jackson, R.I.P.? Might have been Tavares Jackson to Bernard Berrien. Anyways. So he's given a terrible slate because the New York punts. What? The New York Giants had a phenomenal punt. And it put the Minnesota Vikings down at the 1. And this throw was so crucial because it was 2nd and 12. You don't complete this throw and the drive's essentially over. Because it's a 3rd and 12, you probably do a little dump down action so you don't get sacked in your own end zone. The Giants know it's a passing down. And are you really going to risk a deep throw over the middle in your own territory after you already had a turnover by C.J. Ham in your own territory? Absolutely not. So this throw encapsulated a touchdown drive for the Minnesota Vikings. And just pay attention to the touch, the feathery touch by Sam Darnold.
Marissa knows me so well. That does make me happy. Big smile on my face over here.
Good start for your former club. As Darnold airs it out. Jefferson has it. First catch today for Justin Jefferson. Out across midfield into Giants territory. A 44-yard pickup.
And it was just a matter of time before Justin Jefferson was going to get behind this defense. It's been a lot of cover two. They've been trying to figure out a way to keep that blanket over him, that double over him. But look at the arm of Sam Darnold. Puts it on the money. You see why he was a top pick about 5 years ago. And Justin Jefferson making a huge play.
The Minnesota Vikings offensive line did a great job holding up against the talented New York Giants defensive line featured by Dexter Lawrence, Kevin Thibodeau, Brian Burns. They did a great job holding up on that play. But Sam Darnold basically handed the ball off to Justin Jefferson 44 yards down the field. Perfect placement. The defender had no chance. JJ ran a great route, and the Minnesota Vikings went down there and scored a touchdown. 4th and 2. Again, Sam Darnold made a great throw, tight window to Justin Jefferson. And it showed a lot of faith in the Minnesota Vikings coaching staff, too, and Sam Darnold, to put him in that situation. They could have took the 3 points, go up by a touchdown, but they put Sam Darnold in a position where it's like, go get it. Go get this touchdown. We have faith in you. When you looked at what the Giants did with the Daniel Joneses of the world, what they did with their quarterback, they're down 28-6, and there's like 10 minutes left. And, maybe one final run, maybe one final shining moment. Score a touchdown, quick 3 and out, score another touchdown onside. You never know what could happen. They were running the ball with like 10 minutes left. They had no faith whatsoever in Daniel Jones to put together any stat line, to move the ball down the field in any regard, versus a Minnesota Vikings defense that would have thought would be a little bit more preventative. That's a big difference. This other throw by Sam Darnold. Could just run through these all day. Sam Darnold was so good. Jalen Naylor. You guys know what throw I'm talking about. Jalen Naylor. Sam Darnold. It was in the Minnesota Vikings territory. And he just threw a beautiful pass to put the Minnesota Vikings up 21-3. And I'm just going to quit talking about it. I'm just going to show you the play.
Darnold, pump fake, throws, end zone, touchdown. Jalen Naylor.
You see that throw? Let me show you one more time.
Darnold, pump fake, throws, end zone, touchdown. Jalen Naylor.
That's a big boy throw. The Minnesota Vikings offensive design was to get the defense focused on Justin Jefferson in the backfield. Worked exactly as planned. He drew two defenders. Jalen Naylor went over the top. Sam Darnold basically handed the ball off to him 30 yards down the field. It was sensational stuff. The Minnesota Vikings did not miss Kirk Cousins. And another point that I wanted to make about this game. So Sam Darnold threw 13 passes before he had his first incompletion, which is sensational play. He went 13 for 14 in the first half for the Minnesota Vikings. 151 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 135.4 passer rating, and led 2 touchdown drives. The touchdown to Justin Jefferson. Is that the first half, second half? I don't know. Anyway, it led 2 touchdown drives. The Aaron Jones touchdown and the touchdown to either Jalen Naylor or Justin Jefferson. I think it was the Justin Jefferson one. Jalen Naylor must have been a second half touchdown. But anyways, you think about what happened in the locker room at halftime to the New York Giants. Brian Daboll lit these MFers up. He was pissed off by the way the defense was performing. He was pissed off at the way the offense was performing. And you hear it all the time. Halftime adjustments. Halftime adjustments. This team made halftime adjustments, and the Minnesota Vikings didn't. This team adjusted and made changes to their offense or defensive scheme, and the Minnesota Vikings stayed the same. And even though the Minnesota Vikings had a big lead entering halftime, the other team came back and caught up and ended up winning the game. And another win slipped out the window by the Minnesota Vikings. Another game that they should have won slipped right out the door. Sam Darnold, 13 for 14 at halftime. Finishes 19 for 24. So the Minnesota Vikings threw the ball 2 less times in the second half. But you think about 4 less times. 13 for 14. 14 passes in the first half. 14 times 2 is 28. Threw the ball 24 times. You just take 14 minus 4. Threw the ball 10 times in the second half. And this is when the Giants are supposed to be making these adjustments. Sam Darnold finishes 19 for 24. So 19 minus 13 is 6. He went 6 for 10 in the second half. Still 60% completion percentage. And his arm got hit by Dexter Lawrence that he's making a pass. And it was as good an interception as you could ever have. The Minnesota Vikings weren't about to score a touchdown or a field goal. The Minnesota Vikings weren't in their own red zone like C.J. Ham was when he fumbled the ball. Gave the Giants an easy field. Scored a field goal. Kicked a field goal. Minnesota Vikings defense held on there. It was middle of the field. If there is a time to have an interception in the NFL, it's middle of the field. Because he didn't lose points and he didn't give them an easy field. I don't think that we can understate, even against the crappy New York Giants, just how sensational Sam Darnold performed in his Week 1 performance as a Minnesota Viking. Outplayed Kirk Cousins tenfold. Kirk Cousins couldn't get anything going with the Atlanta Falcons. They scored 10 points. And I get the Pittsburgh Steelers have a solid defense, led by T.J. Watt, one of the best defenders in the league. But 10 points? You don't sign a guy to the contract that they signed Kirk Cousins to score 10 points. No, that's not what you do. So, Sam Darnold played spectacular, and he deserves all the excitement and praise that he's going to get this week. Now the test comes versus the San Francisco 49ers. And we'll see what they do on Monday night versus the New York Jets. But the Minnesota Vikings are at home. So I think it gives them a legit chance to win. Early odds have the Minnesota Vikings at a +6 in the betting markets via DraftKings. But it's a home game. And we'll see how the odds change or take shape throughout the week, especially after the 49ers Game 1 performance versus the Jets. Hit that subscribe button right there. And thank you for making this podcast a part of your day.